Hey guys, my name is Haley, and today I'm going to be filming a kind of different video because I don't normally do TBRs, but I have a lot of books I want to get to this particular season, so I'm going to do the top 5 books that I would like to read this fall. Keep in mind, I do have an entire TBR planned for the month of October because there's a readathon happening called Spooktober that is being run by Vanessa from Paper Fairy and a couple of other booktubers, and I will be participating in that. But I also have a ton of just creepy, scary type of books that I want to get to in the month of October, so I'm going to be doing a separate TBR for those. But these are some of the books that I feel like I just want to read in the fall time, whether I read them before the month is over this month or in November before we hit Christmas time for me. So yeah, let's get started. So the first book I would like to read, just because it seems like a fall sort of book, and probably because it's historical fiction, which I don't really read a whole lot of, and that is Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. Honestly, I don't know what this is about. I know it's got multiple points of view. I know it's about a disaster that isn't like really talked about, and I think Ruta Sepetys does that with a lot of her books, so I am very excited to get into this. I've heard really good things about it, and I'm very interested to see what I think of her writing style as well. Next up, we have The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I've wanted to read this book for years. I've heard it's so atmospheric, and literally all I know about it is that it's about a circus that only appears at night. And it's supposedly really, really atmospheric, and it just seems like a fall type book to me. I don't know. I don't have an explanation really for any of these of why I want to read them in the fall, but it just seems like I should. Next up, we have me dropping a book. Next up, we have Vicious by V.E. Schwab. I just recently read V.E. Schwab, or is it Victoria Schwab? I don't know the difference. I recently read one of her books, The Savage Song, her newest release, and I really, really liked it. I loved the writing style, and I really loved the world she created, and I've heard from a lot of people that this is their favorite Victoria Schwab book, so yeah, literally all I know about it is that it involves 2 male characters who I think were friends, but they have magic powers and they think they can end up being enemies. Kind of gives me like Dumbledore and Grindelwald feels. Maybe I'm wrong about that, I don't know, but I've heard such good things about this book. And I really just want to read another Victoria Schwab book because I do own most of her books now. Next up, we have The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. And honestly, I wasn't planning on reading this anytime soon, but Molly over at Molly Reads just read it and vlogged her reading it, like the week that she was reading it. And she loved it so much, and her enthusiasm for how good this book was just kind of re-sparked my interest, because I think I heard about this a while ago on someone's channel. It might have been Reagan, I'm not sure, because I know she reads a lot of this type of thing. I think it's historical fiction, but with magical elements. I could be wrong, I don't know. I know it's a book, it's one of those things where it's like a book about a book. Like, I think the main character finds a book, and it starts to like take over his life, like his life starts to take on this book or something like that. But it just sounds really fascinating to me, and I found it a long time ago at a thrift store after hearing Reagan rave about it, so I'm very excited to get into this after seeing Molly rave about how much she enjoyed it. And I've heard his writing style is just beautiful, and I just feel like I feel like all of these are atmospheric books, and that's why I want to read them in the fall time. I don't know. And lastly, of my top 5 is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I've almost read this book so many times, but quite honestly, the reason I haven't read it is because 1, it's 1,000 pages. 2, because not only is it 1,000 pages and it's probably going to take me a little longer than usual to read because it's high fantasy, but every person I've seen read this book it literally like takes over their life for a couple of months and they don't want to read anything else and all they want to do is read more and more of this series. And I'm like, there's only 2 books. We don't even have a release date for the 3rd book. There's like a novella, I think, that I don't own yet. I remember specifically, well, any of the fantasy readers are obsessed with this, like fantasy booktubers that I always put all of their books on my wish list. But I know Kylie's definitely raved about this. Ashley from Said the Story has actually been raving about this since last year, and she was very much a contemporary reader, but I think this kind of turned her into a little bit more of a fantasy reader because she loved it so much, and I find that really intriguing that somebody who doesn't read a whole lot of fantasy absolutely loved this, but also somebody like Kylie or Reagan who does read a lot of fantasy also really loved this. So I was like, I want to read it. And I own this and its sequel, but I'm scared that it's going to take over my life and I'm going to end up in some sort of reading slump because all I'm going to want to do is reread this. But I want to get over that because I really do want to read it and see what all this hype is about. Those are some of the books I want to get to this fall. Apparently I have a thing for atmospheric books. I hope you enjoyed this video. Somebody please push me to read The Name of the Wind and get over my weird irrational fear of not wanting to read it because I'm scared it's going to take over my life because I'm sure it's fantastic. But yeah, thank you all for watching and I will see you guys next time.